Yeah, thank you for inviting me to present on a very exciting project that I'm the coordinator of. This is some of the things that I've done since I left the IMIA leadership and the IMIA board. I am here to speak or to present to you some work that we are doing in Europe and in a European funded project that's called Gravitate-Health, empowering and equipping Europeans, it could be citizens, with health information for active personal health management and adherence to treatment. Looking into resources for citizens, patients and their support network has been a passion of mine for a long time. So I was really excited when the consortium that I led won the competition to be a preferred, to conduct the project. Let me see. What I want to share with you today, and I have been given 20+ minutes, I would first like to situate Gravitate-Health to explain to you how the project came about, some of the and then go into the project itself, aims, contributions, and some of the standardization work that we have been active in, because I think that's also of great importance for the IMIA community, and then dive a little bit into the medicinal product information. And as I go into the presentation, you'll see why. So let me start by situating the project. So Gravitate-Health is funded by a European funding instrument that was called Innovation Medicine Initiative when we applied in 2019. Our project started in 2020, and in 2022, the funding mechanism changed name to Innovative Health Initiative. A lot is the same with these two programs. I think the main difference, one of the main differences, is that in the Innovation Health Initiative, there are more private partners that join in. So with Innovation Medicine Initiative, it's a co-funded model where the pharmaceutical industries or private partners, private entities in Europe team up with the EU Horizon 2020 public funding, and the public partners are funded by the EU, and the private partners are basically, for all practical purposes, contributing in kind. I shouldn't go into the funding scheme, but I would like to emphasize that it is the private partners or the industry that sets the challenge and that goes through an approval process. So when you get an IMI project, and as a private-public partnership, you also have a pretty strong mandate to develop and work and address a challenge that cannot be solved by public partners nor private partners alone. And Gravitate-Health is an example of a project where we meet up to solve challenges. It's a pre-marketing, non-competitive environment. And it is by design and by execution truly interdisciplinary. So with Gravitate-Health, public-private partnership, we are 40 partners in Europe and one partners in the US. It's a five-year program, and we are starting on year 3 right now. We have funding, and we have a European start, and want also are committed to make global outreach. So the partners represents academe. I am the coordinator from the University of Oslo. We have regulators and product information providers, meaning concretely 3 medicine agencies in Europe. We have standardization organizations like HL7, European Patient Forum. We have healthcare providers and payers. We have SMEs and digital technical expertise. We have FPA, European Federation for Pharmaceutical Industries and Associations members, and we have communication dissemination experts. Altogether, within the 40 partners, there are 29 public and 11 private. Just to illustrate who we are, here are the logos of all the partners, and you can see that there are some that are quite familiar and some that are maybe not so, that are new to you. But let me then go into Gravitate-Health and in a nutshell and what we're trying to do. So the challenge set for this private-public partnership is to work on the question of how we can apply an open access digital platform with trusted digital health information to transform the way patients access and understand health information and apply this in personal health for adherence to treatment, risk minimization, and quality of life. Given who we are and how we came about, the regulator-approved electronic product information is a core information and knowledge resource in the project. It goes by many names: medicinal product information, it is e-labeling in some regions, EPI in others, SPL in the US setting. What we want to do is to look into how we can make this information more relevant to ensure that people, users, have improved access to relevant information, improve understanding, and then look at how this can be interventions to make sure that people are, or support people to use medicinal products as they are intended. We know that in terms of use of medicines, about a third never pick up and never have the medication dispensed. A third do not use despite that they have it in the house, and 1/3 use it more or less as it was intended and prescribed. We also know that if the treatment involves a combination of behavioral change and use of medications, it is even more challenging. We will prepare a focusing mechanism. We've called it the Gravitate-Health lens, or the G lens, that you can see in the middle of this picture, where we look at how we can provide for a more relevant information experience, taking information from the electronic health record to the extent the user would like to disclose or are comfortable with using that, and also health education material. More specifically then, the information items would typically be a medication list, allergies, conditions, therapy plans. And this is in Europe, and I guess also to some extent in the US, available in the International Patient Summary. And we are using outputs of previous collaborative work, but also looking at the situation of the user and the goal and the capacities of the users is something we're looking into. And just to remind you, Maria and her medicines, this is the tools that most of the users, the patients, their support network are using. They are using paper leaflets, and you can see this is just for one medicine. And we all know that the paper in the pack, which is the e-label, which is the regulator approved electronic product information, is lengthy. Fine prints can be cumbersome and hard to orient in. So there is a lot of room for improvements. Also, to the left here is the list of medication that a user like Maria is taking, and it has information about the medicines. It also has some keywords on how to use the medicines. We are looking into this by developing the federated open source platform and services pretty traditional with the 3 layers and looking at how we can use this to improve knowledge, adherence, and manage risks. We will test this in iterative sprint cycles and in proof of concept scenarios in 8 countries, where we tap into situations of self-care where prevention or early intervention is a focus, active treatment when you deal with and collaborate intensely, usually with health providers, or self-management when you are more left back to yourself and in remission or have a treatment that you're following. We will apply the G-lens in these scenarios, and we'll also open, as we get along in the project, look into two-way communication and allowing the users also to communicate back to the healthcare system. And we have a program of assessment and evaluation to learn and report out how this our hypothesis is working. The key outcomes will be a white paper where we elaborate on our strategies to make the information more relevant for the user. We will do evaluations, we will develop a platform, and we are quite active in dissemination communication, engaging widely with stakeholders to make sure that we learn from intake and experiences to make a sustainable impact. And we're also looking at how we can bring about change and innovations. What we have done so far in the 2 years of operation is, I'm just illustrating a few things that might be, that I think is important to just to say, well, we have 3 years to go, but we have also achieved and made sure that we have some outputs already. We have been defining our G-lens design methodology, co-created personas with end users. We have a very active user advisory board, ensuring that we get things right from a user perspective. We have been interacting with health providers, and we have been to create personas, which is a common representation of users with challenges that we can address. We have prepared and will be releasing our first MVP, looking at also how we can ensure user experience and access to the information. We have in the project teamed up with and been accepted by the Vulcan Accelerator. This is the accelerator program for fire resources, which is important to the project, and it's important globally. So we have been working with Vulcan to make sure that we can access or demonstrate how we can support cross-border mobility, traveling, etc., so that you can look into how we can provide information in a language of choice, in addition to the language of jurisdiction where you pick up medication. Imagine when we get to MedInfo in Taiwan, if any of us need to take medication take a medication or a medicinal product from Taiwan, it would be extremely helpful, for me at least, to be able to also access information about these products in a language that I know better than Chinese. So English, for example, or in the European Union for the medications that are approved by the European Medicine Agency, they come also with translations to all the languages in Europe. And the last example here is how we have started to look into the focusing mechanism. We have been very careful in our language because the regulator approved medicinal product information is a document or a piece of information and knowledge resource with many interests. And we have been looking at how can we focus information, meaning how can we highlight information in the document, and can we suppress information in the document. So in this example, you see you will see yellow, white, and gray areas. The yellow areas is an example of focusing in terms of highlighting, where we have taken information, demographic information, and taken information about medications and allergies and intolerances, and highlighted information in the leaflet that relates to that. Given the demographic information, we've also illustrated how you can suppress or gray out information in this specific example with information about breastfeeding and pregnancy, because the user here is more than 60 years old, and the time for these activities is usually over for the individual. This is also an issue where maybe it could be, we will explore how we can also suppress this type of information for male users, for example. So this is some of our products, some of our outputs. I should also say that the global HL7 FHIR standard for modeling and use of the electronic product information is in development. That's based on this work. And actually, for all of you that are active in HL7, there is a balloting on FHIR implementation guides, and our implementation guide on the EPI is on the ballot right now. To get there, we have been collaborating with both the European Medicine Agency and other EU projects, and we have, in addition to global outreach. So we have collaborated with European Medicine Agency and their setup of connections to the national medicine agencies to ensure that the profile that's now up for balloting through the Vulcan Accelerator is well aligned between the EU EPI common standard that was issued by the European Medicine Agency and the head of medicine agencies last year, and also making sure that it is usable for users, or is usable beyond EU. We have been collaborating with UNICOM, which is the Horizon 2020 project, to ensure that the HL7 FHIR implementation guide for EPI, that's also labeled the Vulcan profile, incorporates their work and incorporates the ISO IDMP standard, so we can have universal standards and being able to track the medications across markets. And for us, the PHPID standard in this family of standards is extremely important. We are, with Vulcan HL7 Accelerator, have established a common track, a collaborative track with Connectatons on use of and digging into the medicinal product information in digital form. And we have made a contribution to make sure that the emerging resources, FHIR implementation guides, are usable for the work in Europe, but going beyond that, because we need robust international standards in this area. So to just show the impact, some of the impact that we made and of the approach is that we have looked at and made sure that there is good alignment between what's called the EU EPI common standard. This is verified and with European Medicine Agency, and the global EPI FHIR resource, which is called the Vulcan EPI profile. They are completely aligned. We have a couple of differences, but in where the data comes from. So in Europe, we have a master database for EU medicines that's called SPOR, which is part of the setup in Europe. But as you can see, and the yellow parts in this slide from organization on is examples of this information from the EMAS master data system for EU medicines, but you can see that they are completely aligned, because in the Vulcan EPI standard there is also the same resources. This gives us the opportunity to accelerate, and I think that has been extremely important for the project, but it is also important for our field as we go forward. I chose to zoom in on the work that we have been doing on establishing robust international interoperability standards in this area, because it is, for one, very important for our progress in the project, but I also anticipate that this is of interest to the IMIA health informatics global community. If we look at it, there are about, as far as I know, at least 40 markets or 40 different countries or regions that are now looking into the availability of digital versions of the medicinal product information. This is from a paper by a colleague, Rie Matsui, published in the Innovation and Regulatory Science, the references here, looking at key areas when it comes to making progress or facilitating for innovation in this field. It is we know that keeping the information updated and relevant is a time-consuming and resource-intensive area, and in most markets or in most countries there is a 6-month period from an update have been approved till it has to be part of the medicinal pack and make sure that the leaflet is updated with access to and labeling available at regulatory authorities' websites. For example, we can make sure that there are alternatives where you have much sooner access to updated information. This is also efforts and surveyed accessibility to the label, understanding how it is structured, and discussions on if we go digital, can we eliminate the paper in the pack from a commercial pack? What are the conditions? What are the precautions? What are the benefits? And what are the risks? And also efforts to ensure that we have interoperable e-labeling, interoperability resources to improve the user experience when it comes to use of this important knowledge resource. From Gravitate-Health, we are, as you understand, collaborating with the European Medicine Agency. We are also, and several, in addition to our consortium partners, but also beyond that, several of the national medicinal agencies in Europe, and well through our piloting in different countries, also work with information, the product information that is for each of these markets, and looking into how we can ensure for what it takes to ensure for a more relevant patient experience. For example, just I used the example of being in Taiwan earlier, but also for quite a few of us, as we are traveling across Europe, we would like to see that we have more resources available to us digitally, not just the COVID pass, but that we can build on these advancements. We are also in regular consultations, discussions with FDA. They are working on making in the US, they are making the product information available as FHIR resources. And we have been working with colleagues in Asia, starting with Japan, to also look at how we can, with this project, also make sure that we have interoperability standards and resources that are common, helping us make global progress. This comes with opportunities. It comes with opportunities, but it's also, and it is in these opportunities important to develop guidance on how to proceed with e-labeling initiative globally for a consistent approach. We see that there are different parties in these discussions, being regulators, obviously, being industry. They are producing the information, the regulators are approving it, and with different consumer groups and researchers looking at how we can expand the use of e-label or the medicinal product information to become a knowledge resource in the health information ecosystems. As I said, I think it's important that, and it's an opportunity for us to step up to the table and discuss guidance on how to proceed with all these initiatives to make sure that we can direct the effort in the same way. And I cannot think of another organization with the expertise needed than IMIA to contribute in this area. So as I'm coming to a close, our common goal is to support patients and their support network, engage and equip citizens with tools. They are currently the least developed resources. We need in this picture or in this effort to make sure that and acknowledge that we work with smart patients. They can be self-assured, motivated, aware, resourceful, and talented. But we have to make sure that we're not creating additional barriers or by our work unintentionally leaving people outside. We need to acknowledge that in certain situations, quite a few of us can be scared. We are dealing with minors. We are dealing with people that are anxious, aged. The cognitive capacity may not be up to speed, can be reluctant and time-consuming. So we, in order to make an effort to ensure and stimulate safe use of medication and ensure that patients, users of medicinal products maximize the opportunity to get the best possible results, I think we should, we look forward to continue the conversations. Hopefully we're successful and can continue that at MedInfo in Sydney and make sure that we are making both a collaborative and effort and advocate for giving resources, providing resources, equipping patients and support network. In terms of working groups, we are currently working with the IMIA Citizen and Health Data Working Group, and we're open for more. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for the time this morning, day, evening, night for someone, maybe. If you're interested in more information, you can access our website or you can scan the barcode and sign up for our newsletter. We publish that 2 to 3 times a year. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, thank you, Anna. That was great. And I'm looking at the chat and there's just excellent presentation. You know, can we get our hands on this presentation? Impressive. And many thanks, Anna. We look forward to just engaging with you more from the IMIA perspective, and we're happy to help promote the project, providing our members with the links and to sign up for the newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and Catherine, that's exactly what I would like. I'll be talking with Anna offline and we'll figure out how IMIA can get more involved with this, be some more supportive of it, et cetera, et cetera. And if you have any questions, you know, either directly with Anna, she's given you an email there, or, you know, if you've missed that because of, you know, we're online here, feel free to let me know and I'll connect you with Anna directly if that's okay, Anna.
That's fine, and I'm of course happy to share the slides with you. We are increasingly putting more and more information in the public domain. That's very exciting, and I would for example, point to the working groups of IMIA as one arena for collaboration, but of course also the member societies can be or the regional federations can be important.
Yes, and I think IMIA can be instrumental in connecting you with those society members, as well as other agencies within the different countries. I'm thinking, personally here with Canada, we have Canada Health Infoway, which is trying to solve many problems, and perhaps maybe connecting you with them here. And so similarly around the world in different nations, they have different agencies and government entities. So anyways, with that, thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate this. It's an exciting project, and we'll make sure that the IMIA is involved and supportive, and that our members are aware of how they can interact with you and even, provide more support and interaction with you. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Jack. Jack, could you show your screen and give us your presentation?
Sure, I'll be okay. I'll be real brief. But again, thanks to Anna for a great presentation and very exciting project. Okay. Just a quick reminder that about 10 years ago, there's a project called Traveler's Electronic Health Record Template. I just put a link in a chat box that may be relevant to this because Anne mentioned that if you travel abroad to a country with a language that you're not familiar with, you may or may not be able to get drugs that you need from the local drugstore because it's very hard to communicate drug information from the consumer's perspective. So that's also part of the thing that we're trying to resolve years ago. But today I'm going to give you a short presentation of a project that we are also quite will be more than interested to share and also work with people from IMIA. It's called iGuardian, and it's an open global platform for conscious monitoring on patients with brain injury. So, we've all know that the brain trauma is a very serious disease, and the famous Michael Schumacher, he had a ski accident. Of course, he's a racer, but then he had a ski accident, and it's very hard to predict how long it's gonna take, how well he's gonna recover, and how much it's gonna have to spend on this type of problem. Recently there are more concept about neuroprognostication, meaning that you try to look at the variables that would provide good outcome and the variables that will provide bad outcomes, and then to give a prediction to the prognosis of a brain injury. So this is the model that's published by Fisher and his colleagues about this. But the problem is we don't have all this information, especially although we have CT, we have MRI, we have tractograph, serum biomarker, we can do neurological examination, and a little bit of EEG and functional MRI and all that. But one of the biggest problems is with the EEG, that we only measure it once or twice, or maybe another time in between. But people with brain injury will require a very long time to recover, if they recover at all. So we feel like there is not a good measurement of conscious change. And one of these tools will be, of course, a very convenient continuous EEG. So as we can see, like severe traumatic brain injury, you can see the change, a very clear change of EEG. On things like seizures, you can see a very clear change on EEG. And in ICU, there are a very high prevalence of seizure that we don't even notice. And the percentage ranges between 9 and 42%. The problem is that we don't know. We don't even know that they're having a seizure, until some problem actually existed. It actually happens. I think I missed some of the slides. Anyway, okay, so so there's a project that initiated by the Taipei Neuroscience Institute. It's got the leader from the World Federation of Neurosurgery, which is Dr. Tu. And we also collaborated with MIT and National Lab of Medicine and University of Utah, and a local computer company called ASUS, which is actually the world's largest manufacturer of computer mainboard and also servers. Okay, and also cloud service. So how to collect and combine all the different modalities together, that is the kind of key to solving this problem. And as we know, some of you may already know that MIT has been maintaining a database called MIMIC, which stands for Medical Information Mart for Intensive Care. These are more than 20 years of data from the ICU of Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in Boston. And they've provided kind of the most comprehensive EKG information that's for the heart to the whole world. So almost, a very large proportion of the worldwide EKG study actually reference or use data from MIMIC. And we want to be MIMIC for consciousness. That's the long-term goal. By starting to collect quantitative and continuous EEG. Okay, so we do have a lightweight, wireless, extended wearable EEG prototype, and it's very low cost to manufacture. We can produce this like almost like $10 a piece, and it has the battery that lasts a week. So, and it's very easy to use. It's just attached to the forehead of the patient. So we need to. So we have these tools, and we're developing an integrated EEG platform. That means we have EEG as long as all the relevant information, like functional MRI, and among other information, imaging or text or coded data. Hopefully, eventually we're going to have an open consciousness platform, so everybody can deposit data and share the data. So if any of you or your colleagues, they're interested in study consciousness through EEG data, among other like functional MRI data, then we will have a platform that you can deposit and retrieve data that you can, and then we can share to create this big data. We're talking to a kind of a spin-off of HL7 called Gravitate-Health. This Gravitate-Health is now like 4 health systems together, and trying to create a standardized architecture. Eventually, they hope to have a healthcare app marketplace. So every different platform can actually work together through FHIR and HL7 standards. So you only have to develop your app once, and then you can use across different platforms. Of course, that is a long-term goal because it's a very difficult vision, but it's a very valuable vision that's worth pursuing, just like any great project. So eventually, we would like to create an ecosystem for consciousness monitoring and neuro prognostication. So before we actually, so when patient is still in acute stage, we are already starting to collect all this conscious information 24 hours a day, every day, and then we're able to extrapolate what's going to happen in the long term, in the next 3 months, in the next 3 years, or the rest of the patient's life, in order to make a lot of decisions about rehabilitation and among other procedures. So it's a very brief introduction of a 4-year project that we just started 6 months ago. So we're still in the quite early stage. And if you're interested, or your colleagues interested in joining such a platform, please let me know. So this is my email. All right, that's all. Thank you.